Yo, welcome back to the Black Narrative. This is your host, Black Ice, and tonight we're gonna talk about last weekend, the Fourth of July weekend. It was a crazy one. I'm based here out of Atlanta, Georgia, right here on the east of Atlanta, where I'm at, and a lot of things went down. This was a crazy weekend, and we'll just kind of go through some of the events that happened and give you my input. And but first off, I want to say, man, it's like just a few weeks ago we were sitting here celebrating Juneteenth. Like we were all Juneteenth up and everything, like with our Black pride and everything. And then a few weeks later, we were right back to Fourth of July celebrations. And me personally, I don't celebrate Fourth of July for obvious reasons. And like say in July 4th, 1776, our people were still slaves here in America, so I had no reason to celebrate it. Now, if a white person wants to celebrate the Fourth of July, I have no problems at all because that's your holiday. I mean, if that was that was the that was the time your people became free. My people wasn't free during that time, so I'm not with it. But I'm not the type of person just looking down on everybody who celebrating the Fourth of July. It's not my thing. For like I say, because of my history. Uh, but yeah, so a lot of things went on last weekend here in Atlanta and beyond, and we're gonna try to go through some of it and give my input. We're gonna start off with a first video we're gonna watch is past weekend on July 4th. A 8-year-old girl was shot and died. So we're gonna take a look at that real quick. The news clip, rather.
Continuing to follow a developing story, however, out of southeast Atlanta where a juvenile was shot and killed last night. Mara Sirianni has been following this story. She has the latest.
The details of this one are disturbing. The child was rushed to the hospital where tragedy Saturday night for calls of a shooting along University Avenue near I-75-85. The shooting happened just before 10 o'clock. We don't know much about the circumstances just yet or what led up to the shooting. Reaction from city council members pouring in on social media, including city council president Felicia Moore. Moore saying, quote, "I'm beyond mad and sad, shut it down." Police said the child was taken to Atlanta Medical Center in a private vehicle, but did not survive. We're still waiting on additional information to be released from police at some point today. As soon as we learn anything new regarding this developing situation, of course, we'll update you on air and online.
All right, Mara, thank you. Now, while police have not confirmed this information to us, Atlanta City Councilman Antonio Brown tweeted this out last night saying he spoke to a witness on the scene and says an 8-year-old girl was shot. We'll let you know as soon as we hear back from police.
Okay. All right. uh, first off, um, the shooting occurred near the Wendy's that was just burnt down not too long ago. If you recall the headlines, if you are in Atlanta or not, the Black Lives Movement protest was going on in the area. Um, with we take it back before that. Before that, uh, Atlanta police killed a black man at the Wendy's late one night a few weeks ago at a Wendy's down the street from where this happened. And so shortly after that, there was a protest that went on. At the protest, they burned down the Wendy's. Later found out that the Wendy's wasn't brought down by one of us. It was brought down by a white woman, I believe. I'm not sure even caught her yet. And so fast forward up to this past weekend, a young black girl was shot and killed down the street from this Wendy's. Now the first problem I have with this already, it's you got peep games to this stuff, man. This was brought to my attention about this clip.
We are continuing.
Now, look right here. All right, look at the title of this video: "Juvenile killed after shooting on University Avenue." Juvenile, the girl 8 years old. She doesn't have a record. Why they saying juvenile? Why they didn't say a child or a young girl? They used the word juvenile. Best believe if this was a white girl, 8-year-old white girl getting shot and killed, I guarantee you they would not use the word juvenile. But you see here, they use right here in the title. And let's listen to the anchor.
To follow a developing story, however, out of southeast Atlanta where a juvenile was shot. And
he said the same thing. Why can't it be a young girl? Why can't it be a juvenile? You know what I'm saying? I do want to keep game with that. Yeah, pay attention to these things, how the news play games. And this right here is local Atlanta media. This 11 Alive. They always are very popular. Yeah, right. Again, right here in the description as well. We got in the title, you have in the description, and you have her, the anchor woman, saying the same thing. So they really rubbed me in the wrong way. Right. So shortly after this, it went down. The mayor, the mayor went on Keisha Lands Bottom. She said, "You shot and killed the baby," and she was very outraged. And from that, she just want to shut the whole area down, basically, and no more protests, no more talking, no more anything. So it's funny how she blamed the protests. I don't think the protests had anything to do with it. I don't even think it's related, but I don't know the full details yet. But that's how that played out. Anyway, we move on to the next event. Like I said, man, 4th of July weekend was wild, man. I don't like I said, I don't celebrate 4th of July, but even then, I don't like going out on holidays, man. Usually people go crazy in the streets, man. People know how to act. So like usually holidays like this come around, I just stay inside. That's the best way to do. Anyway, the second story I want to cover, it was Edgewood Avenue and Auburn Avenue. Also here in Atlanta. It's near a historic black neighborhood. Auburn Avenue was like our Tulsa, Oklahoma here in Atlanta, basically. It was a lot of striving black businesses on Auburn Avenue. And then we had some race riots and everything was burnt down. And now it's a lot of white people down there in the area. They kind of like taking over. But anyway, our people, once again, like I say, a few weeks ago, we was all about Juneteenth. 4th of July come back around, we're right back on the same mess. We out here celebrating 4th of July. So a big group of black people was in this area celebrating 4th of July, popping fireworks, and there was a car that was drifting in circles. The car drifted out of control, hit some people. A couple shots was fired, and then followed by multiple shots. And I think I want to say 4 people died, and like 22 got wounded. Anyway, here's a clip of that. There, fireworks going off down in the middle of the street, getting it in. Boy, they out there deep. It's like Bill Street. Who cousin is this? I don't know somebody I know who this is. Throwing money in the air. They're wilding. Oh, more fireworks going off. Everybody having a good time. Going out of control.
Oh shit!
And there's come the gunfire.
Watch out, I'm coming through. Oh yeah, go watch out.
Like, yo, I just covered this in the last video, man. What's up with these people having a cell phone out recording every single thing? Like, you're in a crowd, the gun goes off, there's a lot of commotion going on, a lot of panic, and you still out here trying to record everything. Yo, man, we got to do better.
Damn.
Boy, look at them. Look at that traffic. Everybody trying to get out. Wow, that was crazy. That was crazy. So yeah, so that also happened in Atlanta, and it doesn't stop there. Like Atlanta was wilding out last weekend. So it ain't going on in Edgewood, Auburn Avenue. Earlier that day, we also had some action at Stone Mountain Park. All right, you're not from Atlanta. We have a place called Stone Mountain Park. On the face of Stone Mountain Park, we had these Confederate generals on the face of it. You know what? Pull up pictures of Stone Mountain Park for you. And it's a very Confederate friendly area. I think y'all mad about some statues. We have a whole park full of this stuff, man. Y'all take a look at it. Yeah, so this is Stone Mountain Park. Like that we got here on Stone Mountain Park. If you've never been to Stone Mountain, they have laser shows. Every street in there are named after a Confederate general or soldier there. Like, and it really trips me out about it. If you go to this park, all the Confederate streets and everything that you see, it's mostly black employees working there. I only seen like one old white lady working there, and mostly us working in this Confederate park, Stone Mountain. That's something. Also, just a little bit of history. They used to have Klan meetings on top of this mountain. They may still have Klan meetings for all we know. Who knows? But there was like 3 phases of the KKK. And the second phase of the KKK started on the top of Stone Mountain Park by a Protestant minister. This is a fun fact. So anyway, let me show you the clip. What happened down in Stone Mountain Park?
Enjoying your holiday vacation.
Threat, counter threat. Because threats don't mean shit to us. Y'all been threatening us since Birmingham. I ain't seen shit. Well, it's just.
So we had this armed black group down here walking, like protesting at Stone Mountain Park. And you see down here they call it NFAC. It stands for Not Fucking Around Coalition. They ain't playing no games.
July the 4th. And all you scary ass Negroes that pass that shit around. Look at what the fuck you did. You made blacks come out. I don't see no white militia. So to the boogie boys, the 3%ers, and all the rest of you scared ass rednecks, we here. Where the fuck you at? We in your house. Let's go. NFAC, motherfucker.
Boy, they are ready. Wrapped up.
Thomas Jefferson said that when you arm yourself, you go from being a subject to a citizen. Just like that. See, when you ain't got no gun, we got the subject in custody. Right? But when you arm yourself, you're an armed citizen. You know why? Because they don't respect anyone that they don't see as an equal. And we gotta make them see us as equals. Hallelujah. So y'all see this shit? We've never set foot up here before. Now look around you. Oh, they big mad right now. I heard that they said they was gonna kill us. What? On the floor. Who said that? Who said that? Where they at? Come on with you, come on. I'm keeping it 100. Where they at? Nowhere around here. Where the boogie boys at? Nowhere around here. Where the 3%ers at? Nowhere around here. Where the white militia at? Nowhere around here. How come when we show up, y'all motherfuckers get missing? Come on now. Because y'all like to pick on us when y'all don't think we looking so lazy. Thank you. I'm going to tell these men in front of y'all. Bruh, I know the sisters are strong. But bruh, every woman appreciates a strong man. I don't give a fuck how strong. Protect the queen. And if you were the man that won't protect you, if you were the man that talk about what the fuck we gonna do, then you are not with a man. You were a big ass boy. Come on with it. And I'm gonna call it like it is. And y'all bold enough to come up here, y'all my folks. Y'all see how many of us it is? There's supposed to be 30,000 motherfuckers out here. We do. They came with all kind of excuses. Yeah, they did. My brother said he was ready to go. I said, bro, you ready? So man, I just put up this flat screen TV. My brother told me, man, I'm down for the count. Let's That's what it is? Bootleg? Who you stole that from? Look at y'all. All I'm trying to do today, we're trying to send a message.
Yes, sir.
We're trying to send a message to all black people. From now on, this is how you protest. This is how you let you come. Don't come down there with no goddamn signs no more.
Yes, sir.
Fuck a sign. Stop taking a sign to a gunfight. These police down here respect us because they see what we do. But when y'all act like y'all ain't got no goddamn sense, and I'm gonna leave y'all with this, and then we get the fuck out of here because I don't see no smoke out this bitch.
No.
Yo, he made a I hope I had that up loud enough. Anyway, he made a very good point. They marched fully armed this past weekend, and I didn't see any police run up on them. But yeah, like you say, you protesting peacefully, and you go down there unarmed. Then you see the police out there, a riot gear, they shoot tear gas at you, rubber bullets at you. But yeah, these guys were fully armed. Like you see how many people are out here marching, and to my knowledge, they didn't have any issues at all that day. Like they out here. Look at them.
Black power. Black love. Black love.
Who baby is that? Like they are out here. So yeah. Up to us that went down. Crazy, right? They didn't have any issues. Everything went off without a hitch. Yeah. So I mean, like I say, man, it was pretty active packed. Here in Atlanta, but it gets better. You're not done. We got one more I want to cover as well. We had one other event, and all the stuff that's going on that day, 4th of July. Minister Louis Farrakhan, he gave like a very long, sermon. I guess that we would call it, about 3 hours long. Did it live, on 4th of July, and we're gonna watch a lot of details, and we're not gonna watch that whole thing, but I do want to cover a couple of clips from that sermon. But first, we want to watch this other clip from Roland Martin real quick.
Club. Every dollar that you give to us, they will no longer air the scheduled 4th of July speech by Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan. They put out this statement right here. Go to my iPad, please. On July 4th at 7 p.m. Eastern, Fox Soul will present a special program hosted by Dr. Sean, featuring a compilation of the most powerful speeches from the greatest black leaders and thinkers about racial relations and civil rights on Facebook, but also online as well. I'll start with you, Wendy. You had a number of Jewish organizations who demanded that Fox Soul not air this, saying Minister Louis Farrakhan is an anti-Semite, that he is a racist as well. What do you make of the pressure applied for them? And again, this is a streaming service that targets African Americans. And for a lot of people, not a lot of folks, again, are not accepting of this relationship that exists between Nation of Islam leader Minister Louis Farrakhan and black media or black targeted media, and that seems to be what's going on here.
I think it's actually really interesting, and I knew something was going to come down the pike, because when it was announced that Minister Farrakhan would be speaking, I believe as Jay Tapper from CNN, he released a statement, quote, retweeted, and said, why would you have somebody that's not only anti-Semite but is against the LGBTQ plus community come on your show?
And then Ice Cube responded with a tweet saying, "Watch your mouth, Jake."
Exactly. Yeah, he sure did. So I knew that there was going to be something that happened, and I just feel like whether you look at Fox Soul or you look at other networks, they are having almost a knee-jerk reaction to people who are saying someone needs to be on the show versus someone not being on the show. So I think that right now, what every streaming service, what every cable news network needs to do is just to really come out with clear guidelines on what is their mission, what is their core values, and what will they allow. Because now I feel like other questions can be poked to Fox Soul and other networks on who they invite to their network and who is allowed to have a platform.
But again, Kelly, what you're dealing with here is you. I mean, I've heard white hosts say, "Well, wait a minute. African Americans, you might complain about somebody else with racist language. Then you have Jewish folks who say Minister Farrakhan has used hateful, racist language towards them, towards whites as well. And so you have this dichotomy. But then you look at the Million Man March, more than a million. You look at the 10th anniversary of the Million Man March, 400,000 plus. You look at the 20th anniversary, you had upwards of 200,000 people. And so you have this strange dynamic that white America has no understanding why the Nation of Islam and Minister Louis Farrakhan appeals to a lot of black people.
I would venture to say not only that, but I think that Minister Farrakhan doesn't necessarily resonate with a whole lot of black people too. I mean, you have black people who are Jewish. You have black people in the LGBT plus community. But also, Fox Soul is white owned. So it's a multi-layered issue, and there's a lot of dynamics in play that I simply cannot flesh out in the 30 seconds that I have. But
we don't need to hear the rest of that. The main thing I want you to get out of that Farrakhan was initially supposed to broadcast his speech on Fox Soul. A couple of phone calls from up top, some Jewish people went through and like, yo, don't get this man on the platform. And like he just said there, Fox Soul is white owned, and they cut him, and it lets you know. So people saying things are changed, but nothing changed. They control the narrative, and my thing is, it's amazing how like we've seen BET and stuff, man. The type of programming that goes on. So you can say you can talk about black women or black men as much as you like in a negative way, much as you want with no issues at all. But you get somebody saying something a little bit different, now you want to censor him out or kick him off the platform. Anyway. Fox Soul decided not to broadcast his speech, so he went live instead through Revolt TV. And like I said, it happened Saturday. I was busy, but from what I saw, he was pulling an average of 94,000 people live during that time. So I can only imagine how many people viewed his sermon after that. So I just want to play a couple of clips. I mean, he went off. Like he went off. Like from what I didn't watch the whole 4 hours of his sermon. But the parts I did catch, he said some interesting things. So I just want to play a couple of clips of that for you. So you kind of get the gist of what we're talking about and go from there.
Between 30 and 40 million. How many of you have lost friends and loved ones? How many of us being arrested in place in your house, how many find it like a prison? How many of you are arguing with members of your own family because staying with them day after day and week after week, you're discovering things about yourself and about one another. So you want this to end. So Mr. Trump calls it liberation. We want you to be liberated from the virus by asking you to come out from sheltering in place. Come out from wearing a mask. Come out for social distancing. Open up your society. So the moment they opened up trying to get basketball on track, several showed up with the virus. In the choir, people singing, and the melodious sound of their voice was also coupled with droplets of death coming out of their mouths. So now many in the choir have already died. So you want this to end, but you don't know how. You want it to end, Mr. Trump, so you can go back to what was. But I'm here to tell you, sir, you'll never see what was again. That is over. Why do you say this, Farrakhan? Because we are under the judgment of God. I want you to open your Bible to Genesis, the 15th chapter, 13th, 14th, and 15th verses. You can't get away from this one. Know of a surety, Abraham, that your seed will be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and they shall serve them, and they shall be afflicted in that land for 400 years. After that time, God says, I will come and judge that nation which they shall serve. When our brother was killed, all of the people that I saw on television, that the television people were calling black people from everywhere to listen to your thinking. And the one theme that you were running quite honestly and fervently was 400 years. 400 years of living under this. 400 years.
But peep that waterfall in that background. That thing nice, ain't it? I don't know where he was at. I haven't found out where he was at. But anyway, that's one clip. He basically talking about the coronavirus and how it's judgment against America. And the 400 years, he referring to us black people being here for 400 years. Because, you know, we they say we first arrived around 1619, and of course in 2019, and he's saying things about to turn up. Yeah, that's just one clip there.
Between 30 and 40 million. How many of you have lost friends and loved ones? How many of us being arrested in place in your house, how many find it like a prison? How many of you are arguing with members of your own family because staying with them day after day and week after week, you're discovering things about yourself and about one another. So you want this to end. So Mr. Trump calls it liberation. We want you to be liberated from the virus by asking you to come out from sheltering in place.
My bad, people. I ain't mean to. Yes, they did. Oh my. Anyway, I was trying to save the spot here.
62. It says, but those who were unjust among them changed it for a word other than that which they were told. So we sent upon them a pestilence from heaven for their wrongdoing. I want you to think about that, because now you want to see why the minister is hated. What have I done?
That's right. Come on, tell the truth.
That members of the Jewish community, some of them, would hate me with such passion.
Yes, sir.
You, my brothers and sisters, who have fallen out with me, because they tell lies
Yes, sir. Right. Go ahead.
to make you think I am a bigot
Come on. Right. Go ahead.
or I'm an anti-Semite,
Right.
so that you won't listen to what I'm saying.
That's right.
And so far, they've been pretty successful. But now I have to bring up the thing that I'm doing that makes me so hated. Members of the Jewish community were given the Torah by Moses.
Yes, sir. Right. Yes, sir.
And 300 years from the birth of Jesus, the civilization of Moses was broken. A man named Nimrod and Jewish scholars and rabbis wrote a word.
Yo, if you don't know who Nimrod is, he basically is the father of Christmas. This back when the Africans ruled the world, the Hamites, and yeah, if you read the story, the Christmas is in the Bible, but we were told not to celebrate it. If you go to Jeremiah 10, and basically in the book of Jeremiah, the Israelites was in captivity in Babylon, and it was a Babylonian holiday where Nimrod basically he married his mother and had a child. And if you read on in Jeremiah 10, it talks about cutting out evergreen trees, the Christmas tree, and decorating it in gold and silver ornaments, and they had gifts under the tree. And all this were like 500 years plus before Christ even came to earth. So the whole thing of Christmas had nothing to do with the birth of Christ at all. It is a pagan holiday, and we were actually commanded not to celebrate that holiday. But yeah, look into Nimrod and check him out.
And they made that word in their minds and in the minds of those who believed in them, believe that their word, which they wrote, is greater than the word that God revealed. Now, you don't read the Talmud.
He's talking about the Babylonian Talmud, and basically it's the Jewish people, they believe in the Torah. There's the first 5 books of the Bible, and then most of their beliefs come out of the Babylonian Talmud. And so really understand Jewish culture. A lot of the stuff not even biblical, like the bar mitzvah, for example. You become when a young boy becomes a man at the age of 13. That's not biblical. That's coming out the Talmud. In the Bible, you're not a man until you military age, and that's the age of 20. So this lets you know, and that is one of many examples of what they believe that's not biblical.
You read the 5 books of the Pentateuch, which are the writings of Moses under divine inspiration.
So yeah, so he went on about that, and then also, and I'm really sorry, y'all, I really had it different tabs where I try to get different sections of his sermon. I want to cover different topics that he was covering. So he covered the coronavirus. Then he went on to talk about Africa, like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and he basically saying, like, any of you Africans that are listening or watching, do not take the vaccine, because Bill and Melinda Gates are trying to depopulate things. So of course they don't have your best interest. And I agree. You look into that foundation and looking what they've been doing. Even the most recently, the first set of corona vaccine trials are being done in South Africa. And mind you, South Africa have a very low coronavirus death rate. But the vaccine was created in Oxford University over in England, So, and they death rate is about literally 10 times larger over there, but yet they test it out in Africa first. So you know what it is. They, you know, they using the African people as guinea pigs, and then they try and get some trials going in the U.S. where those black people will be used as guinea pigs. And Bill and the Melinda Gates Foundation said it themselves verbatim not too long ago. Like, you can look up the article when it said they believe all the essential workers and black people should be the first ones to get the vaccine, and a lot of essential workers are black as well. So so these are not conspiracy theories. These are actual quotes and facts that you can verify. You can look up and check it out. He also spoke about coronavirus, vaccines in Africa, and he went in deeper about the Jewish people. Basically, he was telling a story how some higher up rabbis came to his house and telling him trying to censor speech, and he's like, "Who are you to come to my house and tell me how I should talk?" And those are the parts I caught, and that was all happened within like the first half of his 3-hour sermon here. Like I said, I didn't watch the whole thing. I just been busy. I've been very busy. I just try to listen when I can. But anyway, I just want to give you an overview of all the things that happened this past weekend. So, you had Farrakhan giving his speech to the world. You had the 8-year-old girl that got shot and died in Atlanta. And you had the shooting down at Edgewood. And you had the protest in Stone Mountain. So there's a lot of crazy things going on. And I just want you people to be out there and be safe. And like I said, man, like a lot of stuff could have been avoided, man. Like, like I said, this few weeks ago was all about Juneteenth. We shouldn't have been out on 4th of July like that. You know what I mean? For these things to happen. And not saying they deserve any of those things. I'm definitely not saying that. I'm just saying that, we got to be safe. We got to stay in. So let them have their holiday, man. Like, stay at home. Let them do their thing, man. They had nothing to do with us anyway. And there's nothing but trouble out here in these streets. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe, like, comment. Definitely comment. I'd like to hear your thoughts of everything that happened this past weekend in Atlanta. Let me know what you think of the video. You agree, disagree with what you saw, and input. Thanks again, and I'll catch you on the next show.